Welcome to the Bank First Ranger Hour. Super Talk Mississippi 93.7 Spotlight on Northwest Community College. And you can listen to our live stream at supertalknorthms.com. Just click on the link for the Bank First Ranger Hour. Now, here's your host, Gary Darby.
Yes, indeed. I am in the studio and ready to talk with you for just a little bit today. It is the Bank First Ranger Hour on a Thursday, November 6th. 2025. How are we doing out there in North Mississippi? Today's discussion will begin actually a little quicker than normal. We're going to go in the next segment to discuss the upcoming Northwest Community College theater production of The Diviners with Kayla Manzolillo. So we will talk with her. I think I got that right. Manzolillo. Kayla's going to be with us. She's going to talk all about it. You know, we had Noah Barnett on, who is one of the actors and performers last week. So we will get with Kayla to talk about that, give you the show dates, where to go, how to see them, all of that stuff, and tell us about the production first. And then this week, Ricky Skaggs, who will be in Senatobia tomorrow, had an opportunity to record an interview. Hayden King was kind enough to pull that off for me because of the scheduled time. Nonetheless, there is a nice, long conversation with Hayden and a lot of stuff from Ricky that I think we're going to enjoy listening to in the second half of the program. And so to get all of that in, plus the Northwest sports news that's out there, things that are still going on, sports still competing for Region 23 championships, which could lead to national championships. We need to get to that. We'll get to those at the back end of the program as well. So we're going to jump on in. We're going to go ahead. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk Northwest Theater first. Then we're going to listen to Hayden King's conversation with Ricky Skaggs. And I'll get all that information I just mentioned to you at the back end of the program. We're off and running on today's show.
This hour is everything Northwest. Your connection to Northwest Mississippi Community College and powered by Bank First. Thanks for joining us on the Bank First Ranger Hour. Join the conversation now by texting 662-426-1093.
Well, and as will happen in live radio, things happening in the old cell phone world. So nonetheless, we'll move forward. And since we have the interview with Hayden King, kind enough to sit down with Ricky Skaggs and get this great conversation going, we'll move into that at this point in the program. As we sit here, the Heindl Center for the Performing Arts, finishing up one season and getting ready to go with the other. And so we will jump in and listen to that interview with Ricky Skaggs. And we will move into that as the Heindl Center continues to bring great acts along the way. Dr. Blake Bostic and company doing that and getting them. And tomorrow, Ricky Skaggs and Kentucky Thunder will be at the Heindl Center for the Performing Arts. If you don't have your tickets, there is time to do so. Let's listen to what Hayden and Ricky were able to pull off for us.
Welcome back to the North Mississippi Spotlight here on Super Talk 93.7. Hayden King sliding in real quick. Gary Darby had to take a breather. But as you know, we always talk about the Heindl Center for the Performing Arts on Northwest Community College's campus up in Senatobia, and they always have a great lineup of performers, award-winning performers, and this guy is definitely one of those. Grammy winner, a Hall of Fame member, and I say that because there's multiple Hall of Fames he's a member of, none other than Ricky Skaggs. Ricky, welcome to the show.
Oh, great to be on with you, Hayden. I appreciate it a lot.
I appreciate the time. You'll be performing this Friday up at the Heindl Center at 7:30. People can get their tickets online, heindlcenter.org. But Ricky, let's, we can go on the entire show talking about your music, where you've been, who you've worked with, and we're going to get into that, no doubt. But let's start from the beginning. How did you get into music? What sparked your interest? How did it all start?
Well, it started with, just my mom and dad was always singing around the house and listening to the radio. I grew up as a child of the radio. We didn't really, we had a, an old 78 record player, that we'd play some things, but they were always so scratchy and so, noisy and all that,
Mm-hmm.
So, we listened to the radio quite a bit, and my folks loved old-time mountain music, gospel music, early country music, and, of course, we loved the Stanley Brothers and Flatt and Scruggs and, Bill Monroe, people like that. And my dad saw that I had some interest, because they'd take me to church and I could sing with them before I even started playing an instrument,
Nice.
because I would be singing around the house with my mom. And so finally one day she told my dad on me, said, he's singing harmony with me, And so he just got all excited about that, and he was a welder and was working away up in Ohio, and he came home one weekend and brought this little small tiny mandolin and stuck it in my bed. And I woke up to it. There it was, and I just kind of started, plucking the strings and was just all excited. I loved the sound of the mandolin, and so he bought me a better one, later on, and but I just started playing in church with them and going, people would come to our house, and the older I got, the more people came, and I got to go see Bill Monroe when I was 6 years old. And I'd been playing, for not quite a year, but the folks in the neighborhood knew that I played, and so they started shouting out to let little Ricky Skaggs get up and sing a song, and so he just kind of blew it off, and did some more of his songs, and so the neighbors in the hood started shouting out some more about letting me get up and sing something, and I think he probably was used to something like that, and so he actually called me up and allowed me to get up on stage with him, and asked me what I played. I told him I played the mandolin. Well, he chuckled, and because he had a full-size, mandolin, which is still a small instrument, but for my little 6-year-old bony frame, it may as well have been a small guitar, It
Right.
had
A stand-up
long
bass.
neck and all that, but I played a song and sang a song called "Ruby, Are You Mad at Your Man?" A typical 6-year-old song, to be
Right.
singing, but had no idea what she was mad about. But anyway, that started kind of a relationship, with Mr. Monroe, and then the next year we moved to Tennessee. My dad's job changed, and so he was always trying to get me on the Grand Ole Opry, and every time that he could be home on a weekend, he would take me down to the Opry, and so I was backstage one night, and Earl Scruggs heard me play from Flatt and Scruggs, and he asked my dad to bring me down for an audition for their television show. And you can literally find that TV show now on YouTube, the black and white stuff, and that's the good stuff anyway. That black and white stuff, that's
Right.
the old stuff. But
Absolutely.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, but I played a couple of songs on the show, and just getting my name out there and all that. And now we fast forward on to about 15 years old, and I meet a guy named Keith Whitley. He and I, he lived in Elliott County, Kentucky, and I lived in Lawrence County, and those were bordering counties, and not 25 miles away from each other. And but we grew up listening to the same kind of music, and anyway, we started singing together and wanted to go meet Ralph Stanley. So Ralph was working in West Virginia, right across the river from Louisa, Kentucky, where I was going to high school. And so my dad had to drive us over to this beer joint. We couldn't even get in, without good old Dad. Of course, we couldn't have driven over there either.
Right.
Without good old Dad. But anyway, Ralph's bus broke down, and I don't know how the beer joint owner knew that we played music, but he come up to the table and asked if we could get up and sing a few songs, while Ralph was getting there. His bus had a flat tire or something like that, and so the only songs Keith and I knew were Stanley Brothers songs. And so when Ralph pulled in, finally, about 30, 40 minutes later, he walks in and we're standing, we're up there on stage singing his songs, which was a bit embarrassing, but it just must have meant to be because that night changed our lives. Ralph just fell in love with what he heard in us, two young kids, 15 years old, singing, 30, 40-year-old music, and loving it, singing it, kind of, in the style that he and Carter, his brother, sang. And anyway, it just started a relationship with Ralph. We ended up going on the road that summer, when we was out of high school, and I did not want to go back to school after that. I wanted to stay with Ralph, but anyway, I had to do the right thing, and but Ralph gave us a full-time job when we graduated and got out of school, and so we were with him about 2.5 years, and then I met Emmylou Harris up in Washington, D.C., and when I was living up there in the Northern Virginia area, and we became friends. And so after I'd worked with a couple more bluegrass groups, she called me. Rodney Crowell was leaving the band, her band, and so she asked if I would join her band, and I just said yeah. As much as I love bluegrass, I just felt like this would be a new music or different adventure for me to go on, learning how to play in a country band with drums, electric guitar, steel guitar, and all that kind of stuff, that it might come in handy someday, which it did. And in about 2.5 years from that, I came to Nashville with a couple of cassettes full of songs and got to play them around town, and ended up getting a record deal with CBS Records, and the rest has been history.
Absolutely, and that was, I know that was just a short, little brief intro there, but I was looking at the people that you have played with and been a part of, like you said, to start off with Keith Whitley, of course, Vince Gill, like you said, with Emmylou Harris, Jerry Douglas, and that was just playing, but producing too. Dolly Parton's White Limousine album that got her kind of back into country music. How did that all come about?
Well, we did her television show that she had for a couple of years in Los Angeles, and we played it, and we were all packed up and ready to leave after we did our songs, and I just went to say goodbye and get a hug, and I had met I'd met Dolly back when her and Emmylou and Linda Ronstadt were doing some recording.
Sure.
And I was on some of those records. And anyway, I just come up, gave her a hug, and I said, "When are you going to cut a country record, a real pure old, old school country record again?" I said, "You sing him so great, And she said, "Well, I just might do the next one, my next record. Would you produce it for me?"
Wow.
And that's how quick it happened. It was just nuts, and so I said, "Well, I'll sure do it." I gave her my phone number, and so we worked on that record, and that was a really great record for her to make a kind of a comeback, like you said, into more traditional country music from the more pop things that she'd been doing previous to that. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, it's been a great thing getting to produce. the most recent thing that I did is, I guess it was about 4 years ago, 5 maybe, produced a record on the Scott family, which is Hillary Scott from Lady Antebellum. Her and her mom and dad, we did a Scott family record, and it was so good, so great, and I really enjoyed getting to do that. Produced the Whites and just a lot of different groups that I've had a chance to work with. Has been great.
Absolutely. Ricky Skaggs joining us. Of course, you can see him and the Kentucky Thunder this Friday at the Heindl Center for the Performing Arts at Northwest Community College. 7:30 is when that starts. Get your tickets, heindlcenter.org. And Ricky, that was a thing, I was doing some research and kind of diving deep, and I was like, wow, just the vast variety of artists that you have worked with. I mean, there you go with Dolly, and then also Hillary Scott, part of Lady Antebellum. Like we said, Keith Whitley, Vince Gill, Jerry Douglas, others. One that really caught my eye, though, was a collaboration with Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees. How did that one come about?
Wow. That I met him. I had a couple of friends that live here in Hendersonville, and where I live in Tennessee, and they're friends with Barry, and we were at their house. T.G. Shepard and his wife Kelly Lang, and they knew Barry from years ago. And so anyway, we went to their house for, I think it might have been a Christmas party or something like that.
Okay.
I just remember it being in the fall, and of course them living and Barry living in Miami, him and his wife. They probably hadn't felt that cold weather in a long, long time, But,
no kidding.
I just remember, meeting him, and he had a knowledge of my music that was just crazy. I mean, he knew a lot more about my music than I certainly knew the Bee Gees and remember so many of the songs that they wrote and recorded and had hits on. But gosh, he knew a lot about my music, and I was impressed, but I was very taken by that, and so we just got to talking about maybe doing something together sometime, and so he wrote this song called Soldier's Son and sent it to me and as a demo, and said, tell me what you think about it. You think that might be something we could do? And I said, well, yeah, and so I actually was in the studio at that time working on a record for myself and Kentucky Thunder, and so we just added this song in on the record, and I had my friend Gordon Kennedy help me produce it. We'd done a record together called Mosaic, a gospel record.
Okay.
And so Barry had that, and loved that record very much too. And so anyway, that's kind of how that happened with Barry,
Wow.
And he's just a great guy, and so I said, hey, would you like to work the Grand Ole Opry sometime? And he almost fainted. He said, you're not going to believe this. He said, when I was a kid, I used to watch the Grand Ole Opry, in Australia. They would show the shows, the old black and white television shows. They would show those on the TV in Australia.
Wow.
And so that was a big. I mean, this guy's played arenas, stadiums, all kinds of places, with the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
And yet, the name Grand Ole Opry had a whole lot of weight for him. I mean, he was so excited about getting to do it. And the thing about it was the crowd absolutely loved him when he came out, and we worked up, a couple of Bee Gees songs, some old songs.
Nice.
How do you mend a broken heart, and a couple of those we kind of worked them up in the bluegrass band, and they weren't fast with hard driving banjo or anything, but he just loved the way that we could put together his music with acoustic guitars, because he said that's how me and the brothers started, was playing acoustic music,
Right.
and singing together.
Wow, that is a great story. Ricky Skaggs joining us here on the North Mississippi Spotlight. You can see him and the Kentucky Thunder this Friday night at the Heindl Center in Senatobia on the Northwest Community College campus. Get your tickets, heindlcenter.org. And Ricky, you had some new music that came out in September that was also featured in a movie. Quick little details on that.
Yeah, the Reagan movie. It was the movie that inspired some songs that some other people have written about Reagan and about the movie. It wasn't like the soundtrack, but it was a new project that's come out with a bunch of multi artists, and there was a song that I did on there called Rancho del Cielo, which was the name of his ranch house out there, or the farm that he and Nancy lived on, and that he hosted, all the major, ambassadors and prime ministers of all these nations around the world. He would host them out there. They would be up for breakfast at 6:00 in the morning. They'd get out of the house at 7. He'd put those leather gloves on and go out and pull fence and put new fence posts up and everything, and then be talking about world affairs to these guys out there. He was wearing these guys down, out there, but he was working them under the table. It was great,
Sure.
And such an incredible man. And but anyway. I was really, really honored to get to be part of that movie record that come out. Songs that it was inspired by, the Reagan movie.
Right. Ricky Skaggs joining us. Of course, you can see him in the Kentucky Thunder this Friday night, Heindl Center for the Performing Arts. Get your tickets, heindlcenter.org. Ricky, real quick, if people haven't seen you in concert before, or if it's been a minute since they have, what can they be expecting with you in the Kentucky Thunder on Friday night?
Well, definitely this has been booked as a bluegrass show because we've had it booked for quite some time. And but since July at the Ryman here in Nashville, it was a thing called Bluegrass Nights, and we've played it for years, but this year we wanted to introduce kind of a new show that we're doing with Kentucky Thunder. We still start off with our bluegrass stuff, but we transition into doing our country hits like Heartbroke, Honey Open That Door, things that people have requested for 20, 25 years, and we hadn't really been able to do them justice with not having a steel guitar and the drums and the electric guitar. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be doing some of the number one country hits that we had back in the 80s and 90s on the show Friday night at the Heindl Center. So we're really excited to bring that show to everybody. Like I said, people have asked me for years to do those songs, and but now we can do them. So I hope folks will come out and be entertained by not only the fast playing and the picking of Kentucky Thunder, but also the versatility that these guys can transition right into doing all this country stuff as well. So I just think it's a great show. We'll be doing some gospel stuff from our record Mosaic that I mentioned earlier, and so it'll be a very family-friendly show. And so we, and I always tell parents that if you have children that are showing some interest in wanting to play an instrument, bring them out and let them see this band, because they'll be so impressed and so inspired by this band Kentucky Thunder that I think it'll, it might even settle what instrument do I want to learn to play,
Nice.
And, so anyway, it'll be a great show. I promise you won't be disappointed.
I love that. And you know what? I always say there's nothing better than going and seeing some live music, and this show is going to be great. Ricky Skaggs, the Kentucky Thunder. You'll be at the Heindl Center this Friday, 7:30. Get your tickets, heindlcenter.org. Ricky Skaggs, thank you so much for the time. And you know what? Congratulations on just a great life in music, and more of that to be continued, my friend. I appreciate the time, and have a great show on Friday, and have a great rest of your tour as well.
Thanks so much, Hayden. I appreciate it.
You got it. Check them out. Ricky Skaggs and the Kentucky Thunder this Friday, Heindl Center for the Performing Arts, 7:30 is when that show starts. Get your tickets, heindlcenter.org. Gary Darby and more coming up next on the North Mississippi Spotlight right here on Super Talk 93.7.
Thanks for listening to the Bank First Ranger Hour, your connection to Northwest Mississippi Community College on Super Talk Mississippi 93.7 and streaming live at supertalknorthms.com. Just click on the link for the Bank First Ranger Hour.
What a great conversation, and I want to thank Hayden King for doing that interview for me. Ricky Skaggs, Kentucky Thunder. Great story listening to Ricky tell how he got to where he is today, and now an opportunity not only to hear him in Kentucky Thunder in the bluegrass situation, but they're going to bring back some of his old country hits because he's had that requested so much tomorrow night at the Heindl Center for the Performing Arts. Let me introduce to you now, and Kayla, I hope I'm right here, Manzolillo, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, radio guy and specifically sports guy and pronunciation guides are always great, just in case, because I learned a long time ago, moms and grandmas get mad if we don't say their baby's names right. So, Kayla, I wanted to be sure we got there. We haven't had you on the program yet, so tell us a little bit about you, if you don't mind, and how you made your way to Northwest.
Sure, yeah. So I'm from Ethelesville, Alabama, a real metropolis. It's a little bit south of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I studied theater all throughout college, bachelor's and master's degree, and then I went to work in Florence as a technical director, and I left that job and just happened to, the job here opened up, and Alyssa Algie, who's the other theater instructor, we've known each other since college. We're best friends, and so she let me know about the opening, and I applied, and I'm just super excited to be working here. It's awesome.
Excellent. We spent about 4.5 years in Madison/Huntsville, so very familiar with that area of the world, and and obviously I'm sure you were wondering why a guy that was going to be interviewing me for something in North Mississippi had that weird telephone number that I still have. Nonetheless, we had Noah on the program talking with us about the Diviners and his part and what it was like, but why did you choose this story? Why are we getting this production?
Well, I first experienced this story when I was in my grad school program at Regent University, and we were given this play to kind of study and do scenes from, and like the first reading, I just fell in love with it. It's such a simple story. It's a heartwarming story. It's sad, but it's also just, it focuses on community, and it's a great actor show. Like, it's got so much meat to it. And so when we were looking at plays for this semester, I was like, I've got to do the show. It's been on my bucket list for forever, and I've always wanted to do it. And I just love the production, love the story. And so, yeah, I thought it would give our students a really good opportunity to really stretch their acting skills too.
Yeah, well, Noah mentioned what it was like to play his part, and And really with all of the the people that are going to be in the performance, but how challenging it was. So I guess we're really getting to see these young people, the college students, really show what their chops are, so to speak. I know they probably have all had parts and they've done things before, but is this really something that will challenge them and maybe help boost them for later things in their career?
Oh, absolutely. So again, it's a very almost stripped down story. So it all depends on the acting and the storyline, and it's got a lot of challenging characters in it, and they're just as the script says, they're just normal people living their day-to-day lives, and sometimes that's like the hardest roles to play. You don't have anything to hide behind. You have to be very vulnerable on stage and raw and real, and it's been a challenge, but it's been so much fun watching them grow in these roles and just stretch their acting muscles, and it's been great. It's been a really good experience for them and me to watch.
Sure. I'm sure you've been rehearsing this for a long time now, and then boom, it's time to get out there. Will you give us the show dates and where we need to be?
Absolutely. So we open this Friday. So we're November 7th, 8th, and 14th and 15th at 7 p.m., excuse me. And then we have matinee shows on November 9th and 16th at 2 o'clock, and we're at the Fine Arts Auditorium. It's kind of in the center of campus, and tickets are $10 and then it's free for Northwest faculty, staff, and students. You can buy tickets online at northwestms.edu/tickets, or we sell them at the door.
And before I let you go, and I appreciate your time, tell us a little bit, because Dr. Dale mentioned the Holiday Musical Theater Showcase or other things maybe for the spring. Do you have time to fill us in on that?
Yeah, sure. So coming up in December 9th, we've got our theater showcase, which is our musical theater students performing various songs, some from musical theater, some from Christmas songs. So that'll be really fun. And then in the spring, we're doing a Golden Age musical called Damn Yankees. It's a classic about baseball, and it's fun and really upbeat and a lot of music. And again, it's given our students a chance to do some classic musical theater. So that's going to be in April.
Excellent. I look forward to all of that, and to maybe getting up. And as I was, talking with you over the phone, now that we've got the sixth grader that's all into this as well, we're trying to make some schedules on when we can come watch and do some different things to help encourage him even further. I really appreciate your first appearance here, Kayla. I'm up against the top of the hour now, so we're about to finish up the program, but we'll get you back on, I'm sure, soon, including in December or in the spring when we get these other performances and the good people on stage. Have yourself a good day, and thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you.
That is Kayla Manzolillo. First time talking with her from the Northwest Theater Department. The Diviners starts tomorrow, and there are several shows and opportunities for you. 7 o'clock tomorrow and Saturday, and then again the next Friday and Saturday with a 2 o'clock showing on the Sundays, November 9 and November 16. So if you're interested, the Diviners for the Northwest Community College Theater Department. Good stuff. Also, good stuff has been happening in the world of athletics, and I needed some time to get you that information before we're finished with this Bank First Ranger Hour. One of the best, well, obviously, as far as wins are concerned, volleyball seasons has come to a close for Coach Burchett and company as they lost a 5-set match to Pearl River earlier this week in the semifinals of the Region 23 tournament. 30-6. Most wins in school history. And the Ranger sophomore class will leave as the winning group at the start of the program with a combined 55 wins during their time. You go, and if you were to go at nwccrangers.com and look year by year as to what has happened with the Ranger volleyball team, the wins have progressed and the program has gotten better. 30-6. Lost in the Region 23 tournament, but a great volleyball season. Last night in Ridgeland, the number 3 Northwest women's soccer team knocked off number 5 Mississippi Gulf Coast, an 84th minute goal. Really late in the affair, but Carolyn Perkins helped the Rangers punch their ticket to the championship match of the Region 23 tournament, scheduled for tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. It will be number 7 Jones. They got a win over Holmes in extra time, 2-1. Northwest and Jones played on October 21st at Jones. Northwest won the regular season match 6-1. That was right after Holmes had beaten Northwest, and so Northwest started what would be now 5 straight wins for them, and Jones has not lost since Northwest beat them. So much like you'll understand when we talk about football, this version of football, 4 nationally ranked teams battling for a Region 23 there. Number 3 Northwest knocked off number 5 Gulf Coast, and then number 7 Jones beat number 2 Holmes in the other semifinal of Region 23. And so it will be Northwest and Jones, 7 o'clock in Ridgeland tomorrow night for the Region 23 championship and a chance to defend Northwest's national championship after that. Basketball season, we have talked to both of the coaches, and they're both off to good starts. Coach Laterrell Williams and the women's basketball team have wins over Bishop State 60-52 and Dyersburg State 77-61. They're playing tonight at West Memphis, Arkansas against Arkansas Mid-South, 5:30 for that one. And Coach Redmond and the Northwest men scoring lots of points. There have been some high scoring. If you're looking for high-flying, high-scoring basketball, apparently that's what Coach Redmond and this Ranger version of basketball players are doing. They're 2-1. They beat National Park 106-90, losing to Arkansas Mid-South 103-98, but then on Tuesday beat Dyersburg State 108-96. They're off this weekend. It will be Monday against Arkansas State Newport in Senatobia at Howard Coliseum, and then the first Mississippi team 1 week from today when they take on Coahoma. And, of course, we've got our friend Coach Benji Parker and his Northwest football team in the playoffs again, as you know, the top 2 teams from the North and the top 2 teams from the South are going at it, and they are all ranked in the top 9 in the country. A top 5 matchup, in fact, tomorrow at Stone Stadium in Wesson. Number 4 Northwest, who finished second in the North, will be at number 5 Colin in the MACCC playoffs. Now, Colin and Gulf Coast tied. Colin won the tiebreaker there in the South. East Mississippi and Northwest tied, and East Mississippi won the tiebreaker in the North. Both Northwest and Colin are 8-1. The Rangers and Wolves will play at 2 o'clock in Wesson on Saturday. The winner goes on to take on the winner of number 9 East Mississippi and number 7 Gulf Coast. That game will also be on Saturday. That one will be in Scuba. And then the winners will match up for the conference championship in the state of Mississippi. And if you're Northwest or Colin, most likely, as the polls look, Northwest number 4, Colin obviously number 5, top 4 teams go into the junior college playoffs. That opportunity to play for a national championship again in football. It will be a little bit harder if it's East Mississippi or Gulf Coast for them to slide into that top 4. But for Northwest, another chance to win a championship, 2 o'clock, starting Saturday in Wesson, NWCCRangers.com. You'll be able to watch it and keep up with it. Number 4 Northwest at number 5 Colin in the first round of the conference playoffs here in the state of Mississippi. And we wish them the best of luck. I must thank again Hayden King. Time when Ricky Skaggs could do it, I had other obligations, and so the great interview there and listening to Ricky Skaggs. It was just a great story. Well done by Hayden and the good storytelling by Ricky. And, of course, he will be at the Heindl Center for the Performing Arts with Kentucky Thunder tomorrow. And then Kayla for joining us and talking about the production of The Diviners, which the Northwest Theater Department will also begin tomorrow, but have shows on Saturdays and Sundays for you, northwestms.edu. If you want to check all of that out, and we encourage you, please do so. It is a Bank First Ranger Hour. This Thursday, November 6th show is done. We'll come back We'll talk high school sports, college sports, a little bit of everything with tomorrow's Roberts Wilson PA Sports Hour. So long.
Now the time has come for leaving, fear now we shall return. We were so glad we could make it, but so sad we gotta run. Well, it might be a long time.